You guys are using the money from the government. Yeah? You're using the money from the national government. And welcome back. We are on air, by the way. For Embrace.
Oh yeah,
you've been funded. You even use money from the National Gender and Equality Commission.
That is okay because you are taking it to the. In fact, we are helping them to ensure the money goes.
But that is also not okay because we've never used. You look at the budget of National Gender and Equality. Well, and National Gender and Equality stands for everybody. Women.
So you don't use those funds to move around.
Not at all. Not even a drop. Imagine.
All right, let's go back to your question. Let's go back to Ruth's question.
Do they even have the funding?
Let's go back to.
So I think
they are given 300 million by Gava. Will they be able?
It's not enough to finance your former was running around the county.
But no, ours is funded by feed.
But national gender.
But it's a very small way. Women know how to.
No, not only that.
Before you let.
It would be wrong. It would be wrong. It would be wrong for that commission if they actually funded Embrace. For example, they are a gender commission. Gender stands for both female and male. So if they are spending money, if they'd be spending money on Embrace and not spending money on gender, on the boy child, that would be totally wrong.
Okay,
I'd like to give you the confidence that not even a penny.
I'll be asking you where you get the money to move around. But let's go back to Ruth.
In fact, that is one of my concerns. But before we move on, there's something Mheshimiwa Elachi has just said. She said I attended an Embrace women forum. I have been asking her during the break.
And you ate lunch from them.
And I ate lunch, apparently. Yes. I've been asking her during the break.
And you took per diem.
Kindly, and I took per diem.
There was no per diem.
Kindly give me evidence. And the reason why this is important
even if you didn't attend, we hope by the end of this show, you'll actually see the reason why you actually need to be convinced.
I need to be convinced. And the reason why I am bringing up this point of the accusation that I attended
it was not an accusation.
The alleged false accusation that I attended an Embrace bringing up this point is to now go back to Mheshimiwa Rosa Bui. She said that when they were launching the Embrace Women, they had women from Huruma, they had over 300 women cut across different social backgrounds. Now it is 500. 500 women cut across different social backgrounds, different economic backgrounds. And you see, for me, my concern is that, you see, as a young person, one of the things that I have faced in my journey towards trying to be a voice for the young people in the political space has been
that the young youth agenda.
That the young people are usually used as a rubber stamp. A rubber stamp how? That you have people who sit somewhere, decide, come up with an agenda that does not include your views or your opinion, an agenda that is supposedly supposed to, cater for your interests. And then now when they are having the big launch, you're invited as a young woman, representing the young women. Let's say if you're in university, like she rightfully mentioned, the current president for university, Nairobi University, and you're brought there as a rubber stamp to show the society that indeed we have young people in this. But when you begin to question these young women, let me finish. When you begin to question these young women, to what extent does this Embrace women involve them? And even beyond this Embrace women, to what extent are they being involved? What is their they say they are invited. Let me finish. They say they are invited to these forums, and that is it. There is no beyond. There is no engagement beyond that. And this brings. Listen, and let me just finish. And this brings in the concern that when we are talking about increasing, we're having more women included within the governance space, within the political space. Do we create an environment that shall ensure there is posterity for some of these propositions that we are making? That even as we are saying, have more women nominated, or even as we are saying that the president should nominate a female deputy president. Are we thinking that, at the end of the day, when you exit politics, which you will eventually, someone else needs to come over and take over you, over the leadership once you're gone? Are we holding the hands of these young women so that at the end of the day, the same struggles that these women are facing, we don't have to face those struggles?
Okay, let's get an answer.
Just let me correct you. When we talked about the first meeting that Embrace had, it was not an invitation to a launch. That was a brainstorming session, okay? That included all those young people and included all what you'd like to call the rural women, included all social classes, included all the professionals, all the, that was a brainstorming session. Now, I don't know what you mean. A brainstorming session is a session where people discuss and give ideas and have inputs. Now, the young people were involved there. So I don't know what you mean by saying that inviting people just for a launch for a big thing. So I'd like to correct you about
that's not what happened.
That is not what happened.
Okay. And perhaps it's an impression your statement created.
No. I'm not finished. I'm not finished. I'm not finished. And if you look at the agenda of Embrace, I don't think there's anybody in this country who has taken the issue of femicide head on like Embrace did.
How?
I'm a woman over 50. probably I will not get into a situation where somebody might want to put me in the harm's way like they do to our young girls. So that was not an issue for the older women, yeah? But because we know these are women and these are young girls and these are people who need protection, Embrace took it as its agenda. You don't even seem to know about that.
No, I know about that.
Do
In
you
fact,
know,
I know.
Was it a good thing or it was a bad thing?
And I have an opinion, a very strong opinion about that.
Bad
This
or
is my
good?
problem. This is my problem with such reactionary, what I would like to call reactionary solutions. You see, the thing is, these women have been elected as legislators. Their role is to come up with legislation, to come up with long-term solutions to some of these problems.
Yes.
My concern and challenge is women tend to find, and I'm not even going to attack women leaders, I'm just putting it as it is out there, that when all these cases of femicide were going on, the only reason why they reacted... No, we are talking about...
Just briefly,
we are talking
because
about,
we're not talking about that, yes.
Yeah, just briefly. In fact, this is important, and the reason why it is important is that we are talking about what is the effectiveness of these women. Are these women leaders being strategic when they are approaching issues? Because when you hold a rally, what looks like a rally, to talk about, it looked like a rally, I watched it live, it was at Nairobi University. When you hold what looks like basically a demonstration, let me call it a demonstration, yeah? That you're now talking about femicide, you're now condemning femicide. Does that stop a young man back in Kakamega who is going to hack his wife because of a disagreement about
Ruth,
food?
I think
Okay, let me come in, let me come
What
in.
kind of
I think
solutions?
you made your point.
What kind of solutions?
You made your
And
point.
I haven't made my point just yet. And my point is that these women leaders need to step out of the comfort of political alignments and political narratives of the day, because no offense, handshake right now is a political narrative, which has, and I'm not saying that when it is a political narrative, I'm not trying to point it in a negative light. Political narratives have always built either positive outcomes or negative outcomes.
Okay.
So my worry is that beyond trending political narratives, do these women leaders actually fulfill their mandate of legislating?
Okay.
First of all,
Embrace is not just about
No.
legislators.
Yes.
First
Let's
of all,
hear
Ken,
from Beatrice.
in Parliament, we have young women. I saw Zuleka the other day coming with a baby. So first of all, Ruth has to understand today, Parliament has more young people than even the ones you're talking about. That's number one. In Embrace, we have Lesuda, we have Zuleka, we have Gladys. Those are all below 35 we're talking about, and there are many. And therefore, for you to turn, I want us to engage our country knowing very well that we have young people and they're in leadership today. And therefore, there's no blame game. First of all, let's start from there. There's no blame game that we don't have young people. We have the Sakajas, everyone, fantastic young people who are there. But at the same time, now when you look at the issues we are raising, if it's femicide, whether it was a rally, whether it was a forum, but the most important thing, that in the end on Madaraka Day, the head of state realized there is a crime and we must deal with it. And I think that is how political issues, when you're in politics, that is how you carry your advocacy. Even if you go in today, see, you are a lawyer.
Yes.
Trust me, you'll have to use a lobbying and an advocacy tool to get the agenda be heard. That is how you bring in the DCI to stand.
And
you
let
question.
me say
That is how,
no,
wait
no,
first,
yes.
wait first, Ruth.
Let me
That
just
is
say
how
this.
you bring in the CS Matiangi
Yes.
to listen. And from there now, you needed to have asked, after all that,
What has
what
happened?
are the frameworks now you have put in place? Number one
And
framework.
that is the question I was going to
now
ask.
I'm answering
Yes.
because you didn't listen to what the CS Matiangi said. Number one, there is a framework he has put in place to ensure we will have police who will go for special training. Not those gender desks that we used to have. Special training in understanding how defilement, rape, because that is one of the challenges we've always faced. That when a woman is raped or defiled or a baby, you have no policeman or woman who is understanding where you are coming from. First they tell you have to see the semen, now we are saying train them before they even go to those desks. Number two, that we even as within our document, we are saying cases of defilement and sexual violence, we need the courts to give us a minimum of how you deal with it. Because you find you've gone in for rape, all of a sudden the judge does decide, oh, now you can have a bond and go back to where you, and start intimidating people. And you can see the cases of our girl in Migori and many others. Today, we are asking, where did those cases end? So that we don't make sidebar, as his Ken said.
No. Beatrice, can I just add to what you're saying?
Yes.
This was not a rally.
Yeah.
This
was
was
not a rally.
A protest by the women.
Yeah. And the university
to the
students.
Minister of Interior, who is in charge of security of this country, to say that one death or one attack more is just one too many. So we had the DCI, we had the minister there, key people who are charged with the IG, people who are charged with the responsibility of security, and we needed them to make a statement and make a commitment. I'm looking at you nodding, and I know that you're getting convinced, because surely.
I am
just
getting.
listen. You're saying it's a rally. It's just for what? This is what it was for.
Okay.
To get them to make that commitment.
Okay. Let's move on. We can't finish this.
No, I think before we move on, I think the concern of the Mwananchi is that, do we have reactionary leaders who wait for things to happen, reports to come up before they can comment? Because remember when all this was happening, and I'm sure you guys were very active on your social media accounts, you probably saw people asking, where have you been all this time?
But we deal with these issues. I deal with these issues in Kisumu every day.
And the demand of the citizens is that, can we see women leaders over and above political movements and organizations unite over and above what the narrative of the day is, unite and actually push the agenda of not to wait for, and this is why this is important, not to wait for a handshake to begin talking about issues that affect women and children. Remember during the election. Allow me to finish. I have to give this example. I have to give this example because it is very critical. During elections in 2017, remember that there was a time when there was a lot of police brutality that was ongoing, and the people who were victims were mostly women and children. And some of this, and some of the women who are now pushing for peace, were on the other side. Were on the other side of the spectrum, when they should have been standing and saying, regardless of my political affiliation, this is wrong. It is violence against women. It is affecting children. It is wrong regardless of who I am supporting, even if the person I am supporting is a perpetrator. So my question, and the question of the citizens is, can we see women organize over and above the narrative of the day and push for the agenda of women and children?
For me, I agree, Ruth, but let me tell you this.
Ruth, I think
let us not pretend here. No, I don't like pretense. I don't like people who we talk theory when we know even them, they were on one side of the divide. Yes. Let us
and
be
she's
Kenyans.
a woman.
We want to solve the problem, and let us agree.
So tell me what you've done
the two protagonists, if they came to, you bring in the inspirations of those who were divided on both sides. I mean, I remember I was a very, very, I would say, very critic on the other side, and I was a Kenyan. And that's how our Kenyan politics has been. So let's bring the solutions, as you said. So let's not pretend at but all Kenyans will always be on one divide. Let us thank God the handshake came and decided, let us now dissolve.
That is where the problem lies. That is where the problem lies. What she has just confirmed is that women leaders in this country will wait for certain political conditions to come together before they can fight for an agenda. That is exactly what she has said.
So let me ask.
Excuse me, I need to have an opportunity here. No, Beatrice, I also need an opportunity. Ruth, I'd like to tell you this. To be fair to most of the women leaders, in their own counties or in their own areas of representation, they deal with issues of sexual-based violence, whatever it is, almost on a daily basis. But when you see women coming together to do what we did at the Femicide Forum, it is because we know that collective voice is stronger than our single voices in our counties, because each of us deal with those issues in our counties. True. So we decided that let us now come together and show these people and show the country that this is not just a problem in Kisumu. It's just not a problem in Kakamega. It's just not a problem in Nyandarua. It is a problem that affects the whole country. And so our collective voice was much stronger and much louder, and that is why it got attention. So don't tell us that women have been sitting and waiting, and then they're waiting for handshake to do this. We do this even before handshake. We deal with these issues.
Probably it's not just pronounced because...
it just makes me feel like you are too elitist.
I am not appreciating?
Yes, not appreciating. I don't care if you appreciate or not.
Actually do.
It makes me feel like you don't know what's going on. You're the one up here. We deal with these issues in the grassroots every day. And when we come together, it's because everybody, this is a common problem, and we want to have that collective, strong voice. You seem to just think that we are waiting. Because you don't know what women leaders are doing all over the country.
First of all, I need to reject the narrative that you are calling me elitist. Why? Because first and foremost, I come from, one of those families that you would not say are privileged. So I know what struggle looks like.
But I'm talking about your argument, not the experience of what you've, not your past. We all have past.
And the kind of argument I'm trying to bring here, listen to me, Mheshimiwa, the kind of argument I'm trying to bring here is the argument that every citizen down there, the person that you are saying you're working for back on the ground, is talking about. Because what the solution that this I'm not trying to trying to paint
I'm sure Mama Pendo is not talking about that. I'm sure that the women in Kakamega who stopped going to school because they got pregnant, and the Mheshimiwa of Kakamega has taken them back to school despite the fact that they have children. I mean, those are not talking like that. This is you.
Let us not run away from the problem.
No, we are not running away from the problem.
And the problem is this, that now that you are saying that back at your constituencies, you've been dealing with these issues, right?
And we continue to deal with them.
How come that even as you're saying you're dealing with them, there really doesn't seem to be an end to these problems? And this is where the citizens are saying,
and that is why I say,
and where I'm coming up, and I kept insisting and saying, do these women leaders actually exercise their legislative role? So that at the end of the day, when you're coming up with a solution, it is not, when you're saying you're dealing with these issues, how are you dealing with them? Are you dealing with them from the point of now an issue has taken place, it is being reported to you? Are you dealing with them from the grassroots, from the root of the problem?
So that when you finish, so
that when Rosa Buyu,
and I want to answer now.
Your concerns have been understood. No. Ruth, we have understood your concerns.
There is no problem of
we have understood your concerns, and you need a response.
I just want to tell Ruth,
Kenya
is a very interesting country. We have the Sexual Offences Bill. We have the Children's Act. Kwanzaa, you are a lawyer. You know that we have too many laws than even what we are supposed to be having. Kenyans have just refused to
to ensure that they
adhere to the rule and follow what the rule is saying. That's why in the courts we have funny things happening. That's why even our own citizen, and I always say, in the end of the day, it's not just the leader. It is also the citizenry who have the responsibility to follow. Because when you go and rape, like now the enumerator who was raped in Maseno, honestly, you await when she's just entering her house and you go and rape, you see, that is not now the leader. That is also the citizenry and how our culture has just changed to be a culture where all of us must get responsible and change.
Okay.
Can you not ask us a question?
I'm just sitting here. Actually, I think I should walk off and just allow you people
No.
All right. The women, I have about 5 minutes before I take a break, but I need you to weigh in on this, because yet again, we'll go back to the two factions. You, women, have allowed men to divide you along political lines. They say that women are your worst enemies, but you have effectively done that. This other one follows the deputy president, and this other one follows the president and proudly does it. So you have allowed men to divide you.
I think I've allowed one man in my life to influence my life, and that's my husband. Okay, and I don't think I would ever allow another man to affect what I do. Okay,
was it that bad?
No, I mean, like you're saying that we allow
men to divide, yes, along political lines.
Yes, and what I actually said is, I, as Rosa Buyu, am not supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta because he's the president of Kenya. Ever since 2013, when I didn't support him, he was already president of Kenya, but I didn't support him because I didn't think he stood for what I stood for. But when he came out in the open in March and stood out and said, this is what he wants for Kenya, it resonated with what I, as Rosa Buyu, I, as a woman of Kenya, would like for Kenya.
Are you sure you didn't do it because of Raila Odinga?
Oh, no. If Raila Odinga today decides that he wants to do something else, that, for example, he wants to delve in corruption, and I know, and Embrace knows that it's fighting against corruption, and Raila Odinga now becomes a proponent of corruption, believe me, we are not going to follow him. Okay. But we follow him, and we follow him fanatically because he stands for what resonates with us.
Okay. Do you get that sentiment that you have allowed men to divide you, and now women are busy fighting among themselves and calling each other names?
First of all, we've never called anyone names as Embrace. Let's start from there. We have never.
True.
gone on a podium and called, especially a woman. I've always believed in what we were mentored by our eminent women. Honorable Kabera, Honorable Martha, Honorable Charity Ngilo, Honorable Eda Gashukia, Honorable Roswa Ruhio, and many others. That one of the things they trained us, you cannot go on a platform to abuse a fellow woman.
And then say, call yourself embrace. How do you do that?
Regardless. We are saying we are embracing, and then you are abusing. No. And even the men, we have never. It is none of our responsibility. Our responsibility is what we believed in. What is our vision? What is our mission?
What are our principles
and
core values as
core
embraced?
values as embraced. It's very critical in the whole agenda.
Okay.
And I think one of the things we have agreed and we have followed since we started in February to date is that we will never, if you're talking about unity, then you can't go and abuse even a leader of any region. Because that region, they believe in that leader with a purpose. So you can't go there and start abusing and thinking of others. And that is what I would want to really pray. That as women, go in and talk about issues. Be issue-based, but not to go and tear down your fellow woman that I see you, Ruth is young, wants to be this, and now I go into your personal, I go into, then you're not a leader. And you're not a woman in first place. You have decided to be a woman but a man in terms of how you think.
And Ruth, just for information,
Ruth
the
has
other
not
day,
even commented on this.
and she's allowed me to speak.
Yes.
The other day, the Embrace women actually took the lead into talking to the Sudanese women.
Yes.
We know that they haven't come as far as we have in terms of peace and in terms of just the rights that we are enjoying, albeit not as much as we should in this country. So we actually met them and we said, you are not Kenyans, but you are women, despite the fact that you come from Sudan. And we shared the little knowledge and the little experience we have with them because we want to uplift them as women, to bring them to the level that we have and even higher if they can go. I mean, because embrace, when you talk about embrace and you talk about peace, you're not in your small cocoon, in your small county or in your small country. You are looking at women globally. The other day again, when there was the intergenerational women leadership that was meeting, spearheaded by former presidents like Joyce Banda, I mean, Embrace was there because we also want to learn from them. They've got a lot to teach us. But as we learn from them, we also want to impart exactly what you're talking about to the younger women. Because it's about learning and it's about women coming together regardless of what generation you stand for. And I think that is something that is we should hold on to. And it doesn't matter who is bringing it forth. Because I know that people seem to think that if it is coming from so-and-so, then it's bad. Can we start looking at what is being put forward? For example, when you talk about handshake, I see you talk about handshake with a twitch in your mouth. Because some people have come up to say, how can two men just come up and determine what the country must talk about? This BBI that they formed with their 9-point agenda, how does it affect, who are they? I don't look at who they are. I look at the 9 points agenda and I see, are those things affecting the country? Are there things we can input in? And would it make our country a better country? And if it would, I go with them and give my opinion on them, regardless of who brought it up.
Great. I know you want to comment.
Should I say yawa?
I know you want to give your input. You'd want to, but I'm taking a break. I just want I'll come back to you. Just bear with me. I like to read.
When you say yawa, what are we supposed to say?